We are live, baby. Let's go. August 4th. Another
Good,
Friday with the boys.
good
This
Lord,
is
it's a four.
Rusey Badass. So I'm trying to get my camera to I had the light off. Trey made me turn this thing on. It's giving me problems now. Anyways, welcome to Epi 2 with the boys. Trey, Coach, how we feeling today, man?
Good, bro. Feeling loose. Just finished 18. Skin's a little crispy. Water in sight. Ready to get weird.
Let's get weird, dude. So today kind of just some more content out there. We kind of had a little overview of just us, the season, our initial thoughts for the preseason, and now we're gonna get into our initial thoughts and feelings on the bets, our futures, which I think is our strong suit in the betting game. Practices are just starting around the country for college. So we're going to wait another week or two to get out our previews for the major conferences just to see, just to get more analysis, just to get more information, all of that to make more accurate predictions. So we're going to wait on that. But we do have our eye on a few different plays as far as player props that we really like, and then we can have an open conversation about maybe some of the divisions futures that we like some of the just the conference winners, things like that. But we'll mainly focus on some of the player props that we really like this year that we feel that the number is very low on. And we found out some exciting news that we'll share towards the end of this on how we can play some of those bets this season. So I'll leave it to Trey to lead us off with my personal favorite. We got the Ole Miss running back, man. Why don't you go into that and how we feel about that bet?
So we kind of mentioned this one last week, man. Super excited to be able to do this. By the way, guys, if you were streamed in right now on YouTube, please drop us a like, give us a subscribe. It really, really helps us out to filter us up into the top of your recommended feed whenever you're looking for stuff to listen to. But we talked about him last week. I think he's kind of a sleeper. Look, it would take a lot for a running back to win the Heisman. We saw the kind of season last year that it would take in order to get close, and that was Blake Corum before the injury. But Quinshon Judkins right now, look, it seems high, but if only if you don't watch them. If you don't watch them, then you would think that 13 and a half is pretty high, but it's not. 13 and a half touchdowns. It's actually right there on, I could pick them at 110 right now. We're gonna hit the over on that. I think that they feed him, especially, and I don't want this to sound disingenuous because Russo, better than most that how much of a Lane Kiffin fan I am when it comes to calling plays, what he does as far as how he goes about wanting certain things. Maybe he could be a little bit more strategic in how he, asks Sankey for specific stuff. But the dude's hilarious. He's the darkest his skin has ever been. That man has like lived and slept in the sun. And they're going to feed Quinshon Judkins the ball. The sun comes up, Quinny's going to get the ball. But the point that I want to make as to why I feel this way, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, I don't know 100% if they're going to give the full fruit of the vine to the quarterback until they know for a fact that their quarterback is going to feel like the pressure's off of him, because it is kind of a tight race right now. The word on the street is that Jackson Dart is making it much more difficult than many thought. So because even if it's close, like if there's not a definitive starter, you're going to lean on your run game. You're going to lean on the running back. And they already did that even whenever they knew who their quarterback was going to be. So give me the over on 13 and a half. What do you think?
No, yeah, it's my favorite bet in my opinion so far. Last season, 274 carries, 1,500 yards, 16 touchdowns. And you might say, okay, 16 touchdowns, it's just a few over from last year. But you also have to take into account that Zach Evans was the starting running back last year. He himself scored 9 touchdowns and had the majority of the load towards the beginning of the season. Will he split carries like that this season? I don't believe so unless an injury happens. Obviously, fingers crossed that doesn't happen. but he's going to get a lot more of that share to himself this year, and he already hit the number splitting carries with a NFL running back. Zach Evans got drafted, so I think he could potentially. They have a lot of non-conference games towards the beginning of their schedule, so that's going to be the tell on whether they get there or not. I know they opened the SEC schedule with Bama as the fourth game on the road. Who knows how Bama's going to be this year, but I feel like he can get a really solid start to the season with those first 3 games. I'm talking maybe through those first 3 games, 8, which is half or more than half. So if he can give us 8 in those first 3, I'm thinking we're gonna kill it. He might end up with 20 or 21. So
you said it was game 4 for them for Bama.
I believe it's game 4.
Okay.
I need to go double check.
Imagine,
on the road.
But imagine it's 5. Like imagine he
Yeah.
gets you to 5. Like and that's still a lot. But even if he gets you to 3, I mean, it's not improbable to think. It's not improbable to think that he'll burst out one game for 4.
Oh, he can easily get 3 or 4 in a game, especially against the maybe not even against the non-conference, maybe against a weaker SEC team because he'll play the entire game. He might not get the majority of the carries in a blowout game against a non-conference team.
Yes, you'd make a case that they would have a better chance of getting it against a good team, that they'll need to rely on that, on like goal line, having the trouble, punching it in. But look, man, I love that bet. And I'm gonna pivot really quick because I know that you're not gonna want to talk about this, but I do. I made a comment last week about the Nick Saban thing in Alabama, and I saw this and I'm gonna be honest, it scared the hell out of me. Like everybody is choosing now to have this is the year that Nick Saban's got to prove it to me. And again, I'm with you. I get it. How many times have you seen him walk off the podium from a press conference with a smile on his face?
Maybe once or twice in the last couple of years.
He did it 48 hours ago when they started practice. I'm scared. Look, if that's any indication of what he saw on the field, then look, I hear you. I get it. I'm hesitant, but that little man knows what he's doing, brother.
Could that be because he's maybe experiencing the most doubt he's felt in the last 5 to 6 years?
Literally, yeah.
So it could be a double-edged sword. It could be, like you said, okay, they're being doubted. He's laughing because he knows how good his team is, or it could be the other way around, where he's, okay, shit, we might not have the best team that we've ever had in the last 5. This could be the worst team we've ever had in the last 5 years from a talent perspective. So never know.
I'm not going to name the name because I don't want to misquote him. Nick Saban, when I made the statement last week that I said about him not he didn't have the eyes, he didn't have the views, he feels doubted, he's going to get pissed off. That statement was said by one of his former quarterbacks. I'm telling you that I'm not telling you they're winning the West. I'm not telling you they're not going to lose 2 or 3 games. I'm not telling you they're not going to go undefeated. But what I am saying is that doesn't happen a lot. We got a little hook 'em horn in there. Don't worry. We're gonna get to you.
Chad Kennard, always a fan of the pod. Yeah, we did get a little feedback from one of our lovely Texas fans. I think we're going to have to get him on if he's not bowling maybe next epi to give us a little preview for Texas. But yeah, we'll definitely give some Texas content. Let's go into the second place. So that was our first one. We got Quinshon Judkins, over 13.5 rush touchdowns. And let's make sure that's an important distinguishment. Rush touchdowns. It's not total. Rush touchdowns. So I'm going to lead off with Braylon Allen, the running back for Wisconsin. I like over 1,075.5 rush yards. He's been at Wisconsin for it will be his 3rd season, I believe, playing, and he's been a starter for the last 2. So I'll give you some stats. And I just want you to hear, or maybe form an opinion on the bet after you hear this. So in 2021, he had 186 carries, 1,268 yards. Last year, 230 carries, 1,242 yards. So more carries last year, but less yards even than the year before. So sure, that's a sign that, okay, maybe his yards per carry is going down. Maybe he's losing it. He was dealing with a nagging injury last year. And he split carries with fellow running back Chez Mellusi. And that really kind of, that's what I'm saying. He had 50 more carries than he did the previous season, but he's still exceeding that number. We're only looking for 1,076 yards to win that bet. And we know Wisconsin, right? They're a run-heavy team. Maybe they open it up. Maybe they eventually open up and finally ditch the run-first offense. But let's just stick with some consistency here from this dude. He has to be below average to miss this number. And I just don't see that happening. Wisconsin has a easier schedule on their side of the division this year. I believe they only catch Ohio State or Michigan. I think they only play one of them. So they avoid Penn State and the other. They have a fairly easy non-conference schedule. And their conference schedule is outside of the top three teams is pretty wide open. So for him to be below average for his last 2 years, I'll bet on that all day. So give me the over for him and maybe give me your thoughts hearing that for the first time.
It actually isn't shocking. I don't really think this is going to be too much of like a hidden thing. This isn't really like breaking any news. We're not telling you anything you don't already know. We like to take the benefit of the doubt with the Big Ten. There's a lot of talk right now about what exactly that means amongst like our friend group. Like we kind of do take a little bit of flack for being a little bit biased, so to speak. I just think we call balls and strikes. If you're talking about Wisconsin, man, look, I'm all in. I was a Luke Fickell guy whenever he was at Cincinnati. I was a Luke Fickell guy whenever they were considering him. There was some scuttlebutt about him going maybe to another school in Ohio whenever, a team was maybe going to lose some things. So there's some flirting. Don't think there wasn't some real flirt there. But look, man, I love that. I love that bet. They're going to rely on him, especially if you don't really, again, I'm not calling the Big Ten West easy. I'm not. I am just saying, why not rely on the run game until someone makes you have to throw the ball? And what conference likes to assert and dominate the run more than anybody?
Wisconsin. Yeah.
Like that's easy for me, man.
No,
Also,
yeah.
too, in case you guys were trying to get an updated look on that, the Big Ten West standings right now, as far as who's predicted to win. Wisconsin at plus 130 is the favorite, followed closely behind at plus 240 for Iowa. A little bit of a gap there with Illinois and Minnesota coming in at 600. If you wanted my bet today, I would tell you Wisconsin. I think that shouldn't really be that much of a difficult, decision to make. Iowa is just playing disciplined football. You're just kind of betting on the stay for them. I'm perfectly content with you putting your money on Wisconsin right now to win.
Yeah, I agree with that, and we'll get more into that, when we break down the Big Ten, and maybe we'll have some TikTok videos coming out. I know we'll have our first one Sunday out, so stay tuned for that. We'll drop our TikTok name in the YouTube description below. So, Coach, let's get into the next one. It's my second personal favorite play on the card. Let's get into it. You know more about this than I do as far as this dude and what he's gone through the last year and this program more than I do. So let's get into it.
And look, guys, I fully understand that you're going to get sick and tired of hearing us talk about, why it is that we're going to be all over these players. Nobody knows how much we actually have to look into these numbers and then compare, then ask each other and then ask outside sources. I mean, you could just here recently, I had a phone call with a non-biased source to tell me, am I tripping? Like, what am I? So you really do have to kind of, crutch yourself at times to make sure that you're not thinking too much into the money. Like, get an outside perspective, someone that just watches the team. Malik Neighbors over 900.5 receiving yards for the year. It's a picking right now. It's minus 115 right now. This is all DraftKings, by the way, guys. By the way, DK, if you're listening, in case you want to, sponsor your boys, please. By the way, we'd make that fun. But so 900.5. Let me tell you why he hits that. Number one, last year you couldn't rely on the offensive line until halfway through the year anyway, and Jaden Daniels didn't figure out how to throw the ball until they were getting their teeth kicked in by Tennessee. So with the idea that you're going to throw the ball more, having more sustained offensive line, you don't lose anybody of real importance. Anthony Bradford takes a leap to the NFL. Mistake. Everybody's going to be back. That offensive line they're going to want to run the football. It's Brian Kelly. But Malik Neighbors is bigger. He's stronger. He went for over 1,000 last year. Sneakiest 1,000-yard receiver in the league that we've seen in a long time, with over 1,000, reception yards and 72 total receptions. I don't think this is hard for him to get. Stay healthy, young man. Take the ball, tote it. I don't think this is tough.
Yep, like I said, it's my second favorite play on the card, and there was some distraction with Kayshawn on the team last year. He was definitely going to be the number one coming into the season. Lots of drama immediately from game one. Mm-hmm. And, there was a lot of drama in general in the first half of LSU's season. And, he was sneakily over 1,000 yards, but I think the biggest tell was once Kayshawn was out the last 4 games of the season, he found his stride with Jaden Daniels. And like you said, you had mentioned Jaden Daniels had finally figured out how to pass after the Tennessee loss. And his last 4 games, he went 30 receptions for almost 400 yards with 390 yards. So that's nearly 40% of his yardage just in the last 4 games of the season. And that was him as the number one guy. He is going to be the number one guy now. He's clearly there. Just got to avoid the injury bug, I think, with him and Judkins. I think those are 2 easy plays that I don't know if, obviously we aren't Vegas. We aren't the odds makers. We don't know. But, maybe they know something we don't. But, we're taking the past and we're also going into the future. It's not like the pros where these guys are past their prime and going down. Now it's these guys are young. They're going to get nothing but better. And I think with Malik Neighbors, easy. I don't think that one's even going to be a sweat. So we've got 3 off the card right now. We've got 3 more. I'll go with someone, that I bragged on his team a little bit last vid. Cade Klubnik, over 30 or 3,050.5 yards. That's tough. And if there's some pushback to this, I don't mind. I believe in Clemson. I believe Clemson's going to win the ACC this year. I think they're heavily slept on. This is me mainly believing in Clemson. Now, I'm not betting Clemson right away to win the conference. This is a player prop. He's only played and started in 2 games. We knew he was better than DJ Ukulele. We knew that. We've been saying that all along. But the 2 games he started, he went 50 for 78, 599 yards. I mean, that's 600 yards. That's a fifth right there in just 2 games. Give him a full season. Let the kid work, man. I think he's the guy. He's going to lead the charge for a team that's being slept on. That's quote unquote overrated. I think he surpasses this number. I think I don't think this will be a sweat. I would not be shocked in the least if he gets this maybe in the first 3/4 of the season. I think he could push 3,500, 3,700 this year, depending on how far they go. But if everything goes to plan, I think he's going way over this, and he should have this by the 75% mark of the season. So I don't know your thoughts. Maybe you can tell me I'm wrong. But that's where I stand, and I'm adding that to my card.
No, I don't think that's wrong at all. In fact, again, I'm going to try to update you guys with these odds as much as we possibly can, because they are going to move A little bit, not a lot. Right now, Clemson's plus 145 at DraftKings to win the ACC, followed closely behind at 150 at Florida State. There's a dearth, and it's North Carolina at 1,000. Tied with Louisville, by the way. Look, if Clemson does anything this year of success, it has to be done off of this. Clemson's not going to do anything they want to do unless he does that. And unless you tell me that Cade's going to run for 750 and throw for 2,500, I don't. But I think Dabo knew who the better player was. I just don't think that he wanted to ruin the kid's spirit by putting him in at that time, which I get. But
and you also can't ruin the hype train that it's like watching your baby grow up and not be what they thought they were, and it's tough to let go. And I think that's probably not the best comparison, but we all see that. Everyone has an investment in something or someone, and it doesn't go to plan. And it's tough to let go. It's tough to hop off of that when you put so much into this person and it just doesn't play out from a sports perspective. Hopefully, maybe the kid gets it together. He went to Oregon State, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So, the Pac-12 lighter schedule, maybe. I don't know, man. I just knew the expectations didn't meet the skill I saw. And maybe now that the expectations are lower, maybe he exceeds his potential. Maybe. Who knows?
It's a good bet. I like
that. That's where I stand. I'm adding that to the card.
I like it.
Let's go to our fifth play on the card. And this is it's a weird number. Okay. And when we tell you Brock Bowers over receiving touchdowns, you're probably thinking double digits, right? But Trey, let's get into this. What's our play on it, and where are we going?
So they actually tried to do something a little bit strange this year. His reception touchdowns are at 7.5. He had 7 last year, 942 yards. I want to say this year the yardage over was like 920, which is weird, right? So it's like they're baiting you to play. Vegas knows what they're doing, but they're baiting you to play. They're giving you less on something that he had more on, and maybe it's because he had like a long 75-yard run, and you're thinking certainly they're not going to rely on that. But Big Bro doesn't really have anybody unless there's a freshman that I of course, as Georgia can obviously come out and make a big splash. Of course, something can happen. I think you have to feature him early and often. And to be honest, guys, we've said this 100 times to a blue in the face in 11 ways to Sunday. The SEC East, the schedule lines up for Georgia to kind of cakewalk to Atlanta. If they stub their toe one time, I still don't think that there's anybody else in the East with one loss that's going to really push them. And you know how we feel about South Carolina. Like, you know how I feel about Tennessee. Look, I don't think this is that hard. I think they have to rely on him early and often. The yards, I'm going to stay away from the yards, but give me the touchdowns though. I don't think that's really too difficult. And I'm going to be honest, as far as like my love factor, give me about a 70% on the love. And the reason for that is because I think that they're going to kind of be a head up over a lot of people early if they do what they're supposed to. I remember last year we had this change of tune. We didn't know Georgia was going to be like that last year. They lost literally all of their talent to the NFL and came back and were freaking better. So I don't even know what to say other than it's a good bet. Okay, so
we thought no way they could just match the talent they had from last year, but they found a way. Right. And we've said for a while now, maybe the tide's turning, so to say. Roll Tide, LOL. Maybe the tide's turning in the SEC.
Don't tell Nick that.
Yeah. To me, let's ask ourselves this: who is a young new quarterback coming to a team? Whether it's college or the NFL, who's their favorite target in the first couple of games, the first season? Who's their favorite target?
Oh, easy.
Tight end. Easy. Safety blanket.
Easy.
Who's always going to drop under coverage? He's not going to run crazy deep routes. He can. We know he can. But to get his new quarterback, whoever that may be, to comfort, I especially in the red zone, I think the only thing that deters us on this, he did have a few rush touchdowns on some jet sweeps last year. That's the only thing that could deter us if they stick with that game plan. But that was something that might have been in, Stetson's bag instead of maybe we've got a more pass first quarterback this time. Who knows? But I think 8 touchdowns, it's not asking for much. And I personally think if Georgia even takes half a step backwards this year and has some games that are like come down to the wire, even better for us because they're not milking time. Right. They're not going to, if they need to score touchdowns, they will. So that's I think that's the situation's a win-win. Mm. We really just need him to just be a safety blanket. And he's the best option on the field for them. I don't think it's very close. He's going to be probably a top 3 tight end in the draft next year. Am I crazy for saying that? I haven't looked at the mocks too hard, but he's going to be a top 3 tight end, maybe the best.
And by the way, he is a pro. Their quarterback is going to be Carson Beck. That's not going to be debatable. And he was
not debatable. Okay.
And it's a pro style quarterback too. So, and I'm not telling you that means that he runs like Uncle Leonard. Like
but pro style is okay for the tight end. Yeah,
he's tossing the ball, dog. And he's and by the way, I don't know if you knew this or not, but I had to check this again, and I just thought about it as I was thinking about it. Did you know that Carson Beck is a junior? The dude was part of the COVID class. I did not know that.
I didn't know that either.
He was a COVID grad, dog. So he's been kind of waiting in the wings behind Stetson Bennett because Stetson was 63. So he's going to throw the ball. They're going to throw it to him early and often, and I don't think this bet's going to be too hard.
No, agreed. And the last one on my card, and I think it's the sweatiest one, but I'm going with my heart on this one. I'm doing it, man. Bo Nix over 23.5 pass touchdowns. Okay. I'm doing it, dude. If you want to leave this off your card, do it. But I have been on the fucking Bo Nix train since day one this season. Since we started talking about college football. I am on Oregon's side, but mainly Bo Nix. He had 29 pass touchdowns last year. If he's going to have a Heisman level or, contentious season, he's going to need more than that. So I'm betting on this man to get 24 touchdowns passing. I wish they had some rushing stats. They don't for quarterbacks. But Bo Nix, man, and it's tough because I do have some honorable mentions that I will go over that didn't make the card but could. Maybe I can even persuade myself on here going through some of these.
Or maybe I could.
Maybe you could. But the 3 honorable mentions I've got is Caleb Williams. And let me ask you this since we're, let's just shoot the shit, man.
I don't know.
Caleb Williams passed for 4,537 yards last year.
I'm not on that. Next.
No, but I just want to hear what you think the number is. What do you think his pass yards is this year?
47.5?
No. I'll give you 2 more guesses.
I'm going to go 47.5, 43.8, or 41.20.
Let's try 3,500.5.
They went the opposite way. Okay.
Why is that, though? Because, in my opinion, he's going to be the proclaimed number 1 pick, right? He might play it safe. He might dip. Yeah. If shit hits the fan early, he might dip. That was the reason why I left it off my card, because I saw the stats and I'm like, fuck. You're asking him to throw for 1,000 less yards than he did last year, and he's the coveted number 1 pick.
Yeah.
But we know how the landscape's been the last couple of years for guys that are guaranteed to go in the top 5 or top 10. We know how it is. You probably won't get a bowl game unless they're in the national championship or the playoffs. So you might not get a bowl game. So you're already eliminating that. you'll more than likely get a conference game just because USC and Oregon are probably the two favorites in the Pac-12. But you're losing out on that, and who knows? Maybe even if he has the slightest injury, they shut him down. We saw what happened with Jackson Smith and Jigba last year. Got hurt in the first game. Some would say it was a stinger, and he didn't come back because he knew he was going to be a first-round pick. So I will battle with that because it's such a huge difference from last year. It's 1,000 yards, man. That's a huge difference. So that was one.
I'm out on that one. Yeah, go ahead.
Another one, kind of the same position, Drake May. So he's the quarterback for UNC.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't he have some controversy with potentially transferring last year? Or am I thinking of the wrong person?
I couldn't tell you.
North Carolina, not trying to shit on the ACC or anything about North Carolina, but I thought there was some controversy with that. I could be wrong. But Drake May passed for 38 touchdowns last year. His number is 26.5. Arguably the second or third quarterback or prospect
I'm
in
out
the
on
draft.
the quarterback, Russo. Like
It's tough.
Me. You know me.
But
I'm
it's
way out.
It's a substantial. It's not asking for a lot compared to last year. Now, Joshua Downs is gone. He was arguably the best wide receiver from North Carolina, probably in the last decade. And, I might get shit on for that by my friends or by anyone who knows North Carolina more than I do. But Joshua Downs was a hell of a receiver, probably the best one that has come out of that college in the last decade, in my opinion. So he's gone, but man, I mean, he's a damn good quarterback, probably going to be a top 3 or top 4 quarterback in the draft next year if all goes well. And you're asking for 11 less touchdowns than he threw last year. It's not crazy. So that made my honorable mentions. And my last one was, I believe his name is Emeka Egbuka.
Yeah.
From Ohio State. Now, here's why I like him. Okay. And I like him because
the Malik treatment.
I chose to go the touchdown route with him. Okay. His number is 8.5. Okay. He only had 10 last year. But Marvin Harrison is going to get double teamed. Well, let's be honest. He's the best receiver in college football. Marvin Harrison Jr. is the best receiver, right? Is there any question about that?
That's fair to say.
He is going to get double teamed. And I think people knew he was a good receiver last year, especially teams that game planned against him. But I don't think they knew he was that good. And I think every single team found out in the middle of the game how damn good he was. Egbuka's a slot receiver. I think he will get a lot of single coverage. He already had 10 touchdowns last season. Jackson Smith and Jigba didn't play, but he's gone. There's no if he comes back, this team's going to be amazing, or how's the production going to change? I think, and we've got a new quarterback, obviously no more CJ Stroud, but this kind of falls into the same position I had with the Brock Bowers deal. Is a slot receiver is probably a new quarterback's second favorite receiver or target. You got the tight end safety blanket, and you've got a slot receiver who's probably running shorter routes compared to the outsides. So I like that play. Those were my 3 honorable mentions, and we're not done, going through these yet. This is just what caught the eye, and that's our 6. On our card, we've got Quinshon Judkins over 13.5 rush touchdowns, Malik Neighbors over 900.5 receiving yards, Braylon Allen over 1,075.5 rush yards, Cade Klubnik over 3,050.5 pass yards, Brock Bowers over 7.5 receiving touchdowns, and Bo Nix over 23.5 pass touchdowns. Now, I mentioned we had some good news, right? And we'll wrap it up soon, and we'll get into conference futures and division futures next epi. But we've got some good news, and to me, for parlay bettors, this is a dream, man. We can finally parlay player prop futures on DraftKings. Now, it's not like the holy grail free access parlay, whatever the hell you want, but we can parlay. So they have 6 different categories. They have pass yards, pass touchdowns, rush yards, rush touchdowns, and receiving yards, receiving touchdowns. So if you pick one from each category, and I don't know if you can do the same person. So like you can't double up on Judkins for yards and touchdowns. You can't double up on Malik Neighbors touchdowns, receiving yards. But if you pick one different person from each one, you can parlay them all together. And for the 6 that we named on here, you're getting plus 4,000. Okay.
Amazing.
Now, in my opinion, if you want the safest route here, and you don't want to take a Hail Mary shot with us, I personally love both Malik Neighbors and Quinshon Judkins. And you can get both of those at plus 249 right now. That's a hell of a deal, man. I don't think there's a world, if those 2 guys are healthy, that they don't hit their numbers. So if you want to play it safe, plus 249 for those 2 guys right there is a hell of a deal. So you can build as many parlays as you want. Hopefully they don't take that down. Ask us for your thoughts on maybe if you want to build some of your favorite parlays for the college football player prop futures. Trey, any thoughts on the parlay? I know you're excited, just like I am. Because we're parlay guys. Like that's our favorite thing to do.
No, man. I mean, honestly, it's really, really good news that they're allowing us to do that. And the reason for it is because we, it's really hard to get excited about, betting one individual thing, like an outcome, a cover, all that kind of stuff, dude. But like the one thing we've always said about, FanDuel is that they've given you the ability to parlay like literally anything. And I am way too big of a parlay guy, way too big. Like I need to hit more singles. But for something like this, man, for the future, it's no fun unless you can parlay it together. You want to get those odds. Like I get it if you want to play it safe, maybe, throw a little bit of money on each, but we're not really giving you bets because we just kind of like want to see you guys go out and do it and just see what happens. We're giving you like things that, again, I've said this 100 times. We're putting these things together on things that we're putting our money on, like the money that we make from our day jobs. We are putting on these bets. And again, you can, love it or you can hate it, but DraftKings quite literally has to do this in order to try to stay ahead of, the game as far as parlays are concerned. But if you want, in my opinion, that's a really, really good one. And I think it's about plus 4, maybe touching 5 if you were to throw the Brock Bowers one in there too.
Yeah.
But again, look, if you really want my opinion on the matter, I think the Malik and Quinshon, those are really hard to pass up, dude.
Yeah. And we'll wrap it up. We'll put a bow tie on this, and I'm going to shift to an off-topic college football opinion to close the show today, because I have been very passionate about this man's career since he started his new journey in sports, and that's Jake Paul. Going a different route. I have been on the Jake Paul train on and off, like against him or with him, every single fight since he basically killed Ben Askren on live TV. Now, everyone is going to say, his fights are rigged, blah, blah, blah. They're not rigged, man. He's just he's an average boxer fighting MMA guys that don't box. So he's fighting newcomer to the boxing area, former UFC megastar Nate Diaz this weekend at 185 pounds in a 10-round boxing match. Now, we talked about some of our favorite player parlays or player prop bets. I love Jake Paul by decision or technical decision this week. Plus 300, dude. I don't think he's going to knock out Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz just doesn't get knocked out. I mean, he just doesn't. Now, the only way that I think this doesn't hit, and you can put an insurance policy on it if you want, but if he loses by DQ, because Nate Diaz might just go out and put him in a fucking sleeper hold or break the like give him a kick. It's Nate Diaz. We know he's crazy, and you can bet Jake Paul to win by disqualification plus 3,500. So if you want to safety net, go that route. I just don't. I don't see why this line is so favored towards him knocking out Nate Diaz. A lot of people maybe compare it to how McGregor got finished by Floyd fucking Mayweather, in round 6 or 7, whenever that fight ended. But Jake Paul is going to want to win this fight. He lost his last fight against Tommy Fury. He's going to just outpoint Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz isn't going to knock out Fury. So if you want to go with the over, I believe the over is at 7.5. I think it's 10 3-minute rounds. I've seen footage of Nate Diaz training. It looks like he's going to want to live in the clinch, and we know how boxing referees are. So on that, I'm sorry. I'm so passionate about this. Minus 400 on a TikToker. Look, Chad. I'll say this. He's a boxer. I mean, he's a boxer. You take an average boxer against someone that doesn't box, I think minus 400 to steal. So, my opinion on that. Anyways, I'm very passionate about that. So, if you want, we're going to come back next week, and I'm going to brag about how that plus 300 hit. Maybe add that to Quinshon Judkins and Malik Neighbors, our 2 plays there, and you get plus 1,300. So maybe take a shot and boost your lay there. Not bad at all. So sorry, I had to get off topic there. Non-college football related, but I'm just trying to give, our loyal fans a free bet. So that's how I feel about that. Any thoughts? I see your face over there, kind of just.
We're gonna be watching it together. I'm just gonna be along for the ride, dude. I don't whatever. I think it'll be fun. I'm just looking for it to be interesting, I guess. And this is, I don't know. We'll see. I think you're probably justified in what you think.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
3,500 for DQ sounds kind of tough.
I fuck with that a lot. I'm definitely gonna touch that a little bit. Any last thoughts? Put a bow tie on this, man.
No, man, we're done. I think we're good. I really, really like what we're doing here as far as the player props. Get into some win totals here soon. Get into some individual games, some spreads. Look, man, it's the 4th. A month, like literally a month from now, we are going to 30 days. We're watching college football. A lot of things coming down the pipe with that, but. Moving on to what is now officially practice. We're snapping pads. It's practice time, bro.
Yeah.
It's close. It's near. I can smell it. I can feel it. Let's go. Turn me up.
Hell yeah. Well, back the plays. Comment on the video after you watch it. If you're not watching it live, some of your favorite player prop plays, if you have any. Be on the lookout Sunday for a TikTok. It's going to be our first TikTok of the season. We're going to give another sneak peek at some of our some other favorite plays that we like of the season so far. So, Coach Russo signing out, baby. We'll see y'all next week on a Friday, and we'll get it going with some more content. Hope y'all guys have a good weekend.